Welcome inside episode 480 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller out on Vancouver Island. And on Sunday, Anton Forsberg earned his revenge against the team that drafted him. But tonight, on a Senators game day, the whole team will be out for revenge after a tough loss last week on this same home ice against the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, Ross, let's hope the refs are not the big point of this game because we don't want to talk about the refs on this show. And
Never do.
Hey, look, it wasn't that long ago. This game is fresh in this team's mind. They want to have their revenge, as you said. And there's a couple changes to the lineup, too, that may make this game look a little different than last time.
Full preview coming up. We've also got a SensCentral Citizen. We've got Cam Kennedy coming on. Guy's absolutely electric. You'll really like to hear his origin story and his thoughts on the current Ottawa Senators. Plus, some feel-good stories today revolving around Nick Paul and Colin White. All that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today is Tuesday, January 25th, and Pilsy, great to see Colin White rejoin his teammates at practice for the first time since being injured in the preseason.
What a refreshing sight. I mean, if you're Colin White too, that's got to feel good to get out on the practice ice without a special jersey on and you're just one of the boys and getting closer and closer to making his debut for this season. And it's got to be a big boost for the boys too, like to have someone like Colin White come back in the lineup and hopefully inject a little bit of offense in that bottom six. That would be just great. And I'm so interested to see how DJ Smith is going to deploy Colin White this season. Is he going to be a centerman? Is he going to be on the right wing? Is DJ Smith going to break up that patented shutdown line of Gambrell, Watson, and Paul? Or does Colin White go to the fourth line? What happens? I'm so excited to see how this will change the roster.
You won't get an answer shortly. However, DJ Smith saying after this morning's skate that he's not close, quote, but it was good to have Whitey back. It's great energy for the guys. It's a good sign when you're out there practicing with the guys. It means you're a lot closer than you were. So I would say, in my unexpert opinion, if that's even a word, not a doctor, not a therapist either. I don't know when he could be back, but without that non-contact jersey gives me some positivity or optimism that it might be sooner than we think, maybe in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. I mean, again, I don't really know either, but to be out there with a non-contact jersey, practicing regularly with the rest of the team, that's 100% a good sign. But with a shoulder injury, it's tricky because you can be out there skating looking good, but you're probably not taking draws yet. You're probably not taking too much contact because you don't want to kind of trigger any sort of injuries. So it'll be interesting for sure. And I'm glad for Colin White. Like this is a big moment in his career coming back because, as we know, there is a potential for a buyout with his buyout being
1/3 instead of
with
two.
the 1/3 instead of two. So this is very crucial for Colin White to kind of show, hey, I want to stick around here and I'm going to make it worth your while.
He's signed for 4 seasons at $4.75 million per. Now, as we wait for him, there were lines at practice, and that brought us to a poll question we asked at SensCentral on Twitter. Where do you prefer Drake Batherson to be in this lineup? We know how good he is with Norris and Tkachuk on that top line. And we've seen the same type of chemistry with Tim Stützle from last year to this year. But now, especially since Timmy moved to center, Formanton has evolved on that left side. What was your answer to the poll?
My answer was I want to see Batherson on the top line. And only because it's been so effective already, right? Like the Batherson with Timmy, that's an interesting combo. But I think the pair of Stützle and Formanton, that's a pair that needs to be together. And then Batherson just makes so much sense on that top line. And like, let's not kid around here. Batherson is the leading scorer on this team. Getting him off the top line kind of seems like you're taking a step back here, taking your leading scorer off the best line. But in fairness, that second line with Timmy and Formanton, whoever's there, has been the hottest line lately. So I think really what needs to happen is Batherson needs to stay on that top line, and they need to find an external option to fit on the right wing with Formanton and Stützle in the future.
Still plenty of time to go have your say at SensCentral on Twitter. I put the results up if you're watching on our YouTube channel. So far, 59% think he should stay with Norris and Tkachuk, whereas 40% believe Formanton and Stützle would be the better line mates for Drake Batherson. I think those people are looking at spreading out the scoring a little bit because we've seen Formanton point per game over his last 12. Timmy settling in at center, but Timmy does need good line mates to get him going, and that's fair. He's 20 years old, but then again, your top line hasn't been the same since Drake's been on and off it. So how much is Drake carrying whatever line he's on? Is it the Mark Stone effect?
Yeah.
More and more by the day, I'm seeing the resemblance grow and grow between those two players.
Honestly, yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, if you're anyone on this Sens team, you're begging for the chance to get Batherson on your line. Like, I think Norris and Tkachuk probably want him back up there with him. And for the people that love Batherson playing with Timmy, they're together on the top power play unit. So you're going to get to see some of that no matter what. I think good problems to have if you got Batherson able to have good chemistry anywhere in the top six, the top two lines here.
Believe it or not, Drake Batherson was still considered a prospect at the start of last season. That's when Scott Wheeler from The Athletic put out his Senators organizational rankings. He had Ottawa as the third best franchise for their prospect pool. But to be fair, and Scott Wheeler did just put out his Ottawa Senators recap today, and they're in the late teens. He said it's pretty close between all the teens, but he's got Ottawa as the, drum roll please, 17th ranked team. And he actually, ironically, has 17 prospects ranked for Ottawa. Now, just last week, we put out a poll saying, well, or not a poll, we put out a list for people to get mad at or agree with, whatever you want. But using his rationale or criteria, we put together our prospect pool rankings. And obviously we didn't do it league wide, so we didn't have a number on where they are in terms of other organizations, but they're not too far off our list from his. We've given Scott Wheeler a lot of flack, and I think most of it deserved when it comes to Sanderson and Ridley Gregg and the continuous bashing of the 2021 draft so soon after the draft occurs. But these lists are pretty similar.
Yeah, this looks like in class someone copied off your sheet to make sure, all right, these answers look good, so I'll just copy these. But in all seriousness, I think this is a fair assessment because the biggest thing, Ross, is this prospect pool for the Sens has changed dramatically over last year. Like, there's so many guys that are graduated, moved on, no longer in the Sens system. Like, there's so much different change happening here. And yeah, the 2021 draft at an immediate reaction wasn't that impactful in the Sens overall prospect pool, really, when you look at it. Certainly not nearly as impactful as the 2020 draft was. So I can kind of see the dip here, but I think if you're Scott Wheeler, you're probably knocking down a couple points for the Sens based on a personal bias as well. Let's be honest.
Yes. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, again, I pulled up our list, Scott's list. But my first question before I get into the nitty gritty for a couple minutes, were you surprised Erik Brannstrom is still considered a prospect on this? Shane Pinto was not, but Erik Brannstrom is.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a gray area there. I think for people that aren't Sens fans and watching this team exclusively, Erik Brannstrom, you're probably thinking of the Erik Brannstrom at the start of this season. And, you know, at that point, it wasn't clear that he had graduated. But then, small sample size and recency bias, obviously, but Brannstrom was recently on the top pair with this franchise best defenseman. So obviously he's been boosted up since being looked at here, or being looked at in the start of the season. So I think Sens fans have kind of graduated Brannstrom in our minds, whereas people around the league maybe aren't quite convinced because it's been a smaller sample size.
The other strange move, and his criteria explicitly states that goalies he gives more runway as prospects, is that Philip Gustafson was not included on this either.
Yeah, I guess for him, he's seeing Gustafson as graduated. And again, I think that's maybe if you're not a Sens fan, you're looking at last year's Gustafson and where Gustafson might have been slated at the start of this season. And you're like, holy crap, he had some of the best numbers in the NHL to finish last season. There's no way he's going to be still in prospect mode, kind of still grinding it out in the AHL and not getting consistent NHL starts. So from that point, I can see how that happened as well. But from a Sens fan perspective, AKA our list, it doesn't make sense to have Gus there.
I mean, he's in the minors right now as we're recording this show.
Yeah, but I mean, that's probably not going to last depending on what happens with Forsberg. And it's no fault of Gustafson that he's in the minors, I would say.
So he has Brandstrom on his list. We have Gus on ours, but if you cross out both of those, because I think we each omitted that from each other's, our top three are the exact same. Jake Sanderson at number 1 in a class of his own, Ridley Gregg next, and then Jacob Bernard Docker after that. Now, I'm just going to go off of Scott's list because we've talked about our list on this show before, and we'll just give our takes on what Wheeler's put up. Again, you can watch the show on YouTube and see our list beside it, just of how similar they are. The most that anyone is off, there's 2 guys. We had Boucher at 9. He has Boucher at 5, which I was very surprised that he, of all people, would have him that high on his list. And we had Crooker at 10. He has him at 14. So those 4 spots, and while we omitted Parker Kelly as well, which we probably shouldn't have done, we could have had him in that 14 to 18 range, wherever. But besides that, our lists are nearly identical. He's got Jake Sanderson 1, then in the second tier, Brandstrom and Ridley Gregg. And then he says from 4 to 9, it's pretty all over the place. You could give it to him in any order. He wouldn't care. Jacob Bernard Docker, Tyler Boucher, Roby Jarventi, Igor Sokolov, Lassie Thompson, and Mad Sogard. And then his final tier is Tyler Clevin, Levi Marilainen, Max Gainette, Parker Kelly, Angus Crookshank, Victor Lodin, Zach Ostapchuk, and Ben Roger coming in at 17th. Pilsy, you know what? I reached out to our good friend Henry at Sens Prospects, and later next week or the week after, we just got to find an appropriate time. We're going to get a Sens Pyramid show going, where we're going to try to figure out the class and where all these prospects rank going forward. And I think it's good to leave some time because Tyler Boucher is about to make his OHL debut on the ice back at practice. He was dealing with a minor injury. He should make his debut this upcoming Friday. So we should give him some runway to really see what he is in the OHL before that. But that'll be a fun show. Keep that going. And remember, if you subscribe to Locked On Senators, wherever you get your podcast, you are able to know when each show is released. Not only Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you download podcasts, but also the Postcast goes live on our YouTube channel after each and every Ottawa Senators game, including tonight. You can catch us following the Senators and Buffalo Sabres. We're going to get to a preview of that game, but we've got a SensCentral Citizen today, and he's an absolute beauty. Cam Kennedy, before we throw to that, Pilsy, you've got a word from our friends at Bet Online.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. Hey, I talked about it last episode. NFL playoffs are so heated right now. The Sens are playing 1 million games. It's cold. If you're in Ontario, there's restrictions everywhere. There's not much to do. Why not just enjoy some time on your couch and get a little action on the game? Get off the sidelines. Get in the action. And the best way to do that is to head to betonline.ag. It's the trusted sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and the Locked On Senators podcast. And since you're a loyal listener, let's hook you up with some free play money. You might be thinking, what is free play money? Let me tell you. So go to betonline.ag today. Sign up for a free account. It's real easy to do. And then you're going to see a little box that says promo code. Since you guys are listeners of the Locked On Senators podcast, we want to hook you up with the promo code. So in that box, put Locked On as your promo code, and that's going to get you a 50% welcome bonus. So if you're just signing up today, put that promo code in, and let's say you put $100 in, you're going to get 50% of that, $50, math guy here, into your free play money, and you can use that to do whatever. We're going to get some more Levy locks as we go on here if we feel some proper bets.
Not in the Aussie Open last night. Chapo really let me down.
I mean, hey, you were on the right track there. You're on the right track.
I'm not a Rafa Nadal guy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Definitely. We were all cheering for Chapo there. But the key is, Ross, you got some skin in the game and
I
you
was
were
in the action.
dialed in.
I was at the end of my couch when he came back from down 2 sets. I will say that. But again, that's the beauty of it. You never know, win, lose, or draw.
Yep, and that's why you got to try to get in on the action. And hey, maybe it makes watching tennis, it makes watching games that aren't Sens game a little more interesting if you're on the couch. So, guys, head to betonline.ag. Use our promo code LOCKEDON to get your 50% welcome bonus. It's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
All right, Pillsy. Now this week's SensCentral Citizen, it's Cam Kennedy. All right, we now welcome this week's SensCentral Citizen. It's Cam Kennedy. You can follow him on Twitter at Cam Kennedy Golf. Cam, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show today.
How's it going, fellas? Thanks a lot for having me on the pod. Been listening to you guys for well over a year's time now, so I thought I'd reach out with a DM and see if I could talk a little Sens hockey with the boys.
It's a great time to do so. Ever since the Postcast was introduced, the boys are buzzing. Over 500 on the ice. Where are we talking to you from, Cam?
I'm actually in Toronto right now, right in the thick of things at Yonge and Eglinton.
Nice.
Originally from God's country up in Thunder Bay. So I moved to Toronto about 6 years ago to work for a golf company down here, and haven't missed a Sens game. I go to both Sens games every year there in Toronto. I'll travel down to Ottawa. My girlfriend's brother lives in Ottawa, so got a place to stay there. So I'm watching as much Sens hockey as I can from the Leafs.
Heart of enemy territory, baby.
Enemy territory.
Yeah. So what's it like being a Sens fan in the heart of enemy territory? You getting any trouble from the boys in blue or what?
I miss it.
It's fun.
No trouble yet, but every
That's
game
good.
I wear my jersey. A couple of chirps here and there. But usually when we're walking in that building, we're coming away with a win. So
Yeah.
under that Babcock era, I don't know, we were 18-3 and whatever the record was. But we've had our times with the Leafs, and they've got our number recently, but I'm not too worried about that team in the future. They're soft, as their coach puts it.
Yeah, as their own coach puts it. Well, Pilsy and I got to see the boys in blue go home losers in the home opener. But man, do you remember the game? The last game I remember in Toronto was when Thomas Chabot went outside in on Igor Ozhiganov, that big Russian defenseman, and went upstairs on Freddie.
I was at that game. Yeah.
Unreal.
Unbelievable. I was at the far side of the rink, so I didn't have a good look, but when he put it through his stick and then went backhand shelf, and that was a sick goal. Yeah,
unreal. I was celebrating that one hard. Turns around and Nazem Kadri's girlfriend started chirping us. So you never know who you're going to hear it from at the Air Canada Center. But man, so you're going to games in Toronto. You're from Thunder Bay, even further away from Ottawa. What's the connection with the Sens? How'd you get involved?
Oh, when I was about 10 or 11 years old, Ross, my dad's a huge Leafs fan. Most people in Thunder Bay are actually Leafs fans, Habs fans. That's their because when I was that age, the Winnipeg Jets have gone to Arizona by then. Minnesota North Stars were close to Minneapolis, gone already down to Dallas. So I was looking for a squad, and I always loved competing against my dad. And I stumbled across these Ottawa Senators. Remember those light up shoes at Walmart? I stumbled across them, made my mom buy them for me, rolled in the house with them. My dad lost it. No joke, been a diehard Sens fan ever since.
Hey, that's awesome. I mean, you got to get a little contentious in the household. If everyone's all Leafs fans, then you're all just wallowing in sorrow together. At least you can have a little, some laughs and some rivalries going. So what time frame are we looking at for when you started to become a Sens fan? Like, who are some of the players that you fell in love with?
I'm 32 now, Pilsy. So early Alfie days, 2001, 2002, Alfie then went the big trade for Chara, Wade Redden, and then obviously the Heatley, the pizza line, Heatley, Spezza, Chris Neal, Phillips, all that kind of early 2000, mid 2000 era, 2007 run. Can't forget it. Cried my eyes out, like everybody else did. And then obviously, 2013, the Montreal just hammering the big brawl. The Corey, actually, I have a Corey Conacher jersey. I'm a big.
Oh, nice! You might be the only one.
His parents don't even have one with the Sens.
It's in Thunder Bay, so I used to do this thing with my buddies. My buddy's a huge Habs fan, and it was that 2013 first round matchup, and I told my buddy it was 2-1 Montreal with a minute left. I said the next Sens player, if they score a goal, I'm buying his jersey. And who do you think it was? Alfie goes behind the net, circles, comes back, throws out in front. Somehow Conacher bangs it in, and I purchased his jersey on the spot.
I was at that game. He must have been 6 feet tall after that jump.
Incredible. That was a moment I'll never forget. Absolutely.
Good on you for keeping your word. I think if Corey Conacher scored that goal, I might have looked at my buddy and be like, next Sens guy? Like,
you're the guy who wanted a Rudy Balcers jersey.
And I think
hey, whoa, watch the Rudy Balcers slander. Hey now.
Zibanejad almost had a chance, but he was gone.
He scored the first goal that game. Remember, it was a soccer style. He absolutely kicked it like Ronaldo.
Okay, I knew Mika did something in that game, which would have been the first goal, and I was a goal too early, but I had to put it when the game was on the line.
Fair.
Or a goal too early, or a goal too late, because that was the overtime game where. So I'm at the game. I'm not following Twitter. Was it really even a thing in 2013? But that being said, you come out for overtime, and Peter Budaj leads them out. It wasn't Carey Price anymore. And I turned to my dad. I said, "We're winning this game." Sure enough,
everyone knew.
Sure enough, Peter Budaj puts it off his own blocker and in from a half wall, little wrister from Kyle Turris.
And wasn't it like super early too? Like it didn't even. Yeah.
I remember in the first couple of minutes, Kyle Turris, our overtime hero, Turi.
Oh man, that's one of 3 overtime winners for him in the playoffs.
Against the Rangers and then against Montreal there.
And then one against Boston too, right?
Yeah, I think one against Boston.
Or did he set up Bobby for sure in one of them?
Yeah.
That backdoor tap in was filthy. You're like, what are you passing it? Oh, okay.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right up there. It's like him, Alfie. Obviously, Alfie's got every record in the franchise books. But then between Turris and Pajot, a couple game winners of note, man. Those teams were a ton of fun to watch. Like,
ton of fun.
Was there a time, though, especially here in the last 5 years, where you started questioning things and you're like, okay, should I continue putting so much time and energy into a product that doesn't love me back?
I know. Never questioned it. You ask my friends, I'm as passionate a Sens fan you'll find. I speak about them when it's unnecessary. I'll talk about them any chance I get with my buddies. I know the team history. Obviously, 2017 was a tough loss as well for us. Eastern Conference Final, double overtime. Don't need to repeat it. Everyone knows, but it started going downhill after that. But I watch every game. Don't matter if they're winning, losing. I trust the process. As Joel Embiid says, I trust it. I like what we have going on here. We need some steady goaltending. My Thunder Bay fellow counterpart's not helping out much, but he's been playing better. But I do believe that the squad they have with a couple pieces, Sanderson, Greg, Lassie Thompson, JVD, any of those guys who aren't in the lineup yet, that Lassie's coming in tonight, it looks like, with Branch being sick. But I think this team is going to make the playoffs either next year or the year after, and we're going to be dangerous. Pesky Sens.
Okay, who's going to be their starting goalie when they make their first playoff appearance? Is it going to be Matt Murray starting game 1, Anton Forsberg, Mads Søgaard by then, or someone completely off the board?
Hey, don't forget Gus. Come on now.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I was going to go hot take and say Mads Søgaard.
I like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of him. I know you guys watch more Belleville than I do, but just from his style of play and the highlights that I've seen, every goalie's AHL numbers are lower than when they get to the NHL. So
I know Gus is insane.
The defense being played down there, but
yeah.
I think
unless you're Joey Decord and you have a 920 save percentage, not to bring that up again, but number 1 in the AHL.
Yeah. So I think it'd be Mads. So Murray could bounce back, but just 2 years left in the contract. I don't know. Hopefully he gets back, and he's been playing better, but you never know with that guy right now.
Yeah, so you mentioned your trust in the process. I love that. I mean, what else can we do at this point?
Hopefully it's more successful than the 76ers process, though.
Yes. And hopefully we don't get a Ben Simmons on our hands here, but that's a whole nother story.
No, we already got rid of Mike Hoffman.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good comparison. Not to get too off topic here, but so you mentioned your trust in the process, all of these guys that are yet to come up to the NHL for the Sens. Now, do you think they can solve kind of these issues that they have right now internally if these prospects reach their potential? Or do you think they're going to have to dip into free agent pool or make a big splash in the trade market?
Yeah, I like the guys that are coming up, but it's even those teams we had before that were good. We needed a Bobby Ryan to come in. We needed a trade to kind of, an established top 6, whether it's top 6 or top 4 D-man or top 6 forward. I think we do need someone maybe on the right side there. But I do think we would need some, whether it's splash, trade a couple prospects, but not anyone we want to see in a Sens jersey, but either whether Claude Giroux, I'm spitting names though, Kadri, he's center obviously, but I think we would need some type of splash with an established player, late 20s, that could help get us just over the edge there with the sprinkle of the prospects that we have coming.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the prospects are all good, but you can't rely on a team full of prospects. Like, you do need some veteran leadership in there to help these guys get through the grind. And I mean, like a guy like Connor Brown, you're seeing his impact, right? Sure, the Sens are buzzing without him right now, but overall, as a guy in this franchise, it was so crucial to get someone with a little bit more experience and that can help these younger guys go through the ebbs and flows of a regular season. I think so.
Completely agree. 100%, Posey.
Let's talk about the back end, because it's something that's getting me real curious, and you're seeing the growth of young guys. JBD swaps out for Lassie. Brandstrom's making an impact, although now there's only three guys left who haven't been put on COVID protocol. And I wish I could give credit to who said it, but I laughed. Like, obviously the bite for Tkachuk has made him immune to just about anything. Then you've got Artem Zub, a mythical creature. They don't suffer from the coronavirus. And third, Adam Gaudette's got crystals, so that guy's in the clear too. But outside of that, now everybody on the team has been through the COVID protocol, and it's just giving more opportunities. So especially on the back end, we're seeing some guys take advantage, but also there's some vets back there as well. And that's what I want to ask you about, Cam. What do you do with Nick Holden at the trade deadline? That's where we'll start, because I think he's probably been the best of the veterans.
I mean, I've loved the veterans they brought in before Coburn, whatever, weren't great for us, but Nick Holden has been nothing but awesome. First pass is great. He skates well. He checks well. He defends unbelievably. I mean, if they could throw a contract at him for another year and see whatever, if he bites, but if he's playing as good a hockey as he's playing and someone chucks a third rounder at you, fourth rounder, I don't know how you could say no to that. He is older. But if you do offer him a contract and, see if, he might want to stay, because I think next year they would need someone like him on that bottom pair, just to be steady Eddie back there, like he's been all year. I can't remember the last time that guy's made a blatant mistake out in the ice for the most part. Him and Zub, in my opinion, they don't mess around at all. Though, where the other guys, Shabbat's obviously sick, but the other guys like to throw some pizzas out there. But Nick Holden, I love everything he brings. But if you can get a third, fourth rounder, wouldn't be the worst thing to move him. But obviously, I'd try and sign him first for just a year.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Holden, and I'd rather have him be the free agent veteran guy. Just bring him back instead of bringing this carousel and just bringing some random guy and seeing if that experiment works. Now, sticking on the back end here, arguably the best acquisition the Sens are going to make this year is Jake Sanderson coming to the NHL. Now, Cam, what's your opinion on this? Like, are you kind of hoping that Jake Sanderson, that Nodak figures it out, they've been on a losing skid, that he has a long run in college playoffs and gets to the Frozen Four or even beyond, like has some success and ends up coming to the NHL later? Or are you like, hey, if Nodak gets bounced early, that's fine, because I want to see Jake Sanderson in the Sens jersey right now?
I mean, if he could play tonight against Buffalo, he'd be in the lineup for me.
Love it.
I mean, I'm super excited to watch him at the Olympics. I think
that'll be cool.
I think he's the best D-man on that team.
Yep.
He might be the best player on that team by the end of it. But obviously I want any player to have the, best run possible they could have. He wanted to come back to North Dakota. Obviously I know they've lost a couple of games in a row here. But obviously I don't want anyone to, the better he does, the later will be his arrival here. But if they go on a little bit of run, that's fine. But like I said, if he wants to come play in Buffalo tonight, 26 can be on that back end anytime I'm watching, baby.
Yeah,
Nice.
no doubt. Hey, you said you're moving back to Thunder Bay too. So once the border, everything gets settled out here, let's hope Sanderson comes back and join the boys down at the Ralph here when we go finally get some boots on the ground and see what this guy can do, because he is going to be an absolute treat. Do you expect him to come into the NHL, play 20 minutes right off the bat?
Honestly, from what I know and what I've seen him play, I do. I think DJ's going to give him every opportunity to play that amount of minutes back, unless he comes in. But just the way he skates, I don't see him being any type of nerve. I think his first game we're gonna see it, and then from there it's just going to be a steep uphill climb to do anything that guy could want to do.
I'm just pulling.
Who do you want to see him play with?
Perfect.
Whoa. Good question. He'd be on the left side, right? So I mean, you start him with Zub.
Yeah, I got him with Zub. Yeah.
Okay. I figured. Yeah, left side D-man, so he would be second pair. I think you put him with Zub. Yeah.
And what a guy to insulate you coming into the NHL, right? Not that Jake Sanderson needs sheltering and insulation, but hey, If you can have Zub on your right side, like that's a good
Exactly.
D pair, like nice second D pair.
Oh, that best second D player in the league in the future. Absolutely.
Nice.
And I know that a lot of fans might think, no, you got to ease him into the lineup. Well, just searching here in terms of rookies this year in the National Hockey League, 7 defensemen are averaging more than 1945. So it's not like kids don't come in the league and play that. Moritz Seider up at 2230. But again, he's a year older and had a bit more pro experience over in Sweden. But the guy he'll forever be compared to, Jamie Drysdale. Yes, he played some games last year too, but he's averaging 19 minutes and 44 seconds on the Anaheim Ducks. So that could be a benchmark of what kind of player you could get out of Jake Sanderson. That's for sure. Last one for me, Cam. What prospects, since we're on them, outside of Jake Sanderson, because we know there's quite a bit of a gap between him and everybody else, maybe not the second best, but who's your favorite prospect that you're going to watch and really enjoy to watch and develop?
Ridley Gregg all day. I played that way as hockey when I was growing up. So
just couple suspensions.
A little ratty, but put the puck in the net. I mean, I just from the minimal games I've watched, wish we got cut short at the World Juniors there, but he gets in your face. He's DJ Smith type hockey player, and he could put the puck in the back. And look how many points. Like WHL isn't, as you know, Ross and Pilsy Ross, you know, if you go to those Winnipeg,
they're a friggin' wagon this year, man.
Matt Savoy there, but that's a hard league to put up numbers. Very hard.
Yeah, Latimer was telling us that too.
Yeah, Q, obviously numbers are there a little bit. OHL is obviously a tough league, but the WHL, to put up many numbers he put in as young as he is and being the captain. And I think Ridley Gregg for me is all day after Sanderson, of course.
No doubt. It's kind of funny that they're buddies, from way back Team Alberta.
Yeah, their dads.
Well, and their dads. Yeah, exactly.
Drafted, and it's crazy.
Yeah, the same year, right?
Here in the NHL, both dads were drafted. I think one round, one in first, second round, or the same year for sure. But yeah, the ties this team has is just incredible. Josh Norris and Brady, obviously, too. And
Igor and Drake.
You can really tell the team likes each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's huge. And I mean, a big part of a team liking each other, and you mentioned it comes from the coach, DJ Smith. So last question for me, Cam. I want to get your opinion. DJ Smith, he's got a new contract here, so he's going to be around for a while. But do you believe that he can be the guy that carries this team as when they're in the playoffs? Or do you think he's more just, all right, lots of young guys, he's a player's coach, he keeps things light, this is the time to have him, but when this team's ready to compete, maybe he's not quite the guy? What's your opinion on that?
I like DJ. I like him as a coach. I like his systems. He's growing with the team too. You know, it's
fair.
Just third year in the league too, and he's made mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Some of the lineup changes, I know we all tweet about it, and not all of us agree with sometimes. But he's learning too, and the lineups he's finally Branstrom's finally got caught his eye. Took long enough, but Branstrom also seems to play better too. But I think DJ could be that guy. I think he's got a little bit of a shorter leash maybe at the moment if they keep losing, but if they start winning, I think he's the guy that's going to win with them.
I agree, man. If you could make one change, though, to what he's doing this year in terms of lineup decisions or changing the forecheck, whatever it would be, what would be one piece of advice from a well-seasoned fan that you would give DJ Smith?
I don't like harping on the coach too much, but Josh Brown just kills me some nights. I don't like, chirping players at all. But just some nights I just don't know what he's doing out there. I mean, I'd sub him in and out, but obviously DJ loves Josh Smith and
loves him.
He loves.
I don't know if you know this. They won a Memorial Cup together. I'll be quick to tell you that.
Yeah. Guy Boucher also loved Tommy Pyatt and Tommy's from Thunder Bay. So
is he?
Yeah, Pyatt. I know Pyatt a little bit.
That's so funny. That was my old password when I was at College of Sports Media with these guys. Tom Pyatt. Nobody's guessing that one. Yeah. Unless you're Guy Boucher. You probably shared the same password.
Yeah, but for me, it'd be getting Josh Brown out of the lineup and putting somebody else in there for now. Obviously, I love JBD, Lassie Thompson, but Josh Brown does what a lot of other guys in that team can do is stick up for themselves, and I don't find too much of a purpose from out there most nights.
That's awesome, Cam. Great to chat with you. Hey, give a plug. You're starting your own business up in Thunder Bay. How can people find you?
Yeah, I'm starting my own golf club fitting company up there called Superior Golf Studio. We're in professional golf club fitting and teaching facility, opening next winter time. But I'll have the boys put some Twitter posts up there when I open, and we're definitely going to go catch a game, the three of us, whether it's in
absolutely
Winnipeg when I move back, or even the XL Energy Center, Minnesota.
I need to get there. It's on my list.
I've been there multiple times. Incredible city. They know their hockey. It's like going to Canada. It's like going to Canada with the Minnesota people. Yeah.
So Hills, you ever been to Minnesota?
No. Well, like driven through it, not spent much time there, but
right.
I definitely want to check out the XL Center. It seems like a blast. And yeah, Minnesota, state of hockey. So it's a good place to be.
We'll definitely catch a game, the three of us for sure. I'm 100% down for that.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be in touch, Cam. Again, everyone go follow at Cam Kennedy Golf on Twitter. Great to chat with you this morning, buddy. Last thing. Prediction for tonight's game, Buffalo.
Oh, let's go.
Sens 4, Buffalo 1. Brady 2 goals, Josh Norris 1. Timmy gets another one.
Woo! Boom. You heard it here first. We got a win on our hands. Let's break it down here on the Locked On Senators podcast. Stick taps to Cam for joining us. Really appreciate that. Go give him a follow on Twitter. What an absolute beauty. And let's preview that game. Senators hosting the Buffalo Sabres. Before we do, a great initiative by Nick Paul and the Ottawa Senators. You want to walk us through what Nick Paul will be providing to the Senators and Ottawa community?
Absolutely. And hey, guys, we say it all the time, and we really mean it. Nick Paul does it all. Like, for this guy to have the initiative and to approach the Senators saying, look, I have this idea. Points by Paul is what he's launching here. And it's a player-driven initiative in support of youth mental health and the Royal Ottawa Foundation for Mental Health. And guys, these days, especially in COVID times, mental health is, it needs to be at the forefront, and especially with the youth. Like, kids these days, like, their lives are turned upside down with school restrictions, not being able to play sports as easy, visiting friends, all these kinds of things. So mental health needs to be at the forefront of all of us, and we need to help those that need help. And we need to try to erase the stigma that you need to be embarrassed or you can't talk to someone if you need help, especially as a kid. That's tough to do. So I think when you can see a guy, a professional athlete, a guy who's a big staple in the community in Ottawa, in Nick Paul, saying, look, I want to help these kids and I want to show them that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help, no matter if you're a kid in grade 6, 7, just struggling, or if you're a professional hockey player that needs help. Everyone deserves that chance. And I think it's such a great initiative by Nick Paul, and he needs to be applauded for sure.
I want to echo everything you said there about the importance of being open and honest with your mental health. If you're struggling, reach out to somebody. And Nick Paul will be donating $150 to the Royal Ottawa Foundation for Mental Health. It sounds like not much from his salary, but each time he scores during this season. So it's already started. And for each goal, the Royal Ottawa Foundation for Mental Health will be matching it as well. We know Daniel Alfredson is a big advocate of this organization as well, the Royal. So, hey, if you want to get in on it as well and match, maybe Pilsy and I will have to come up with something here so that we can be a part of the solution to mental health, because it has been stigmatized in years past, and it's time we all get past that and take care of our mental health. So just wanted to give some stick taps to Nick Paul. It was an amazing initiative to see, and to hear him talk about how Ottawa is home to him was awesome. His fiance works at Chio. He lives here year round. So this is just a guy I know that teams will be calling because he's a versatile player. Come trade deadline, he's in the final year of his contract. This is the type of not only player, but ambassador that you want in your city and representing your organization, the longest serving member of the Senators today. So he learned how to fight from Chris Neal. I don't know if you remember way back after practice, Neal would teach you how to fight. Like, he could be that continuing piece from generation to generation in the Ottawa Senators. So let's hope that they can come to terms on some sort of contract. But we know before that gets handled, he'll be in the lineup tonight on a very much relied upon line for DJ Smith. We talked about how it was more on the road that Gambrell, Watson, and Paul are really leaned on heavily. What are you expecting to see in tonight's game against an opponent they just got to play against last week?
Well, Ross, I think for that line's deployment, it's going to rely heavily on how Tim Stützle is doing in the faceoff dot. And DJ Smith even talked about that. He said, hey, Timmy was hot, but in games past, and but he just wasn't there in the dot. I mean, 0 face-off wins. Like that's as blatant as it comes. So he had to get Gambrell out there to win those draws, especially in the defensive zone. So I think that's going to be where we see, okay, how's Timmy doing in the draws? Is he able to snap a few back and start with possession, or do we got to get a line like Gambrell's line out there who has a little bit more experience and success in the dot? So that will be interesting for sure. But the big lineup change here, Ross, and the big difference is Erik Brannstrom is in COVID protocol, unfortunately, which is just, man, like, poor guy, eh? Like, finally, Ross, finally, all the pieces are in place. He's getting an opportunity to play on the right side with Thomas Chabot, and then, unfortunately, he gets COVID here. But one door closes, another
only
one
5
opens.
days at least. Only 5 days, not 10 anymore.
And there's so many games to be played, so he's going to get those back real soon. But one door closes, another one opens. We're going to get to see Lassie Thompson here. And it's interesting, like the constant flip between JBD and Lassie Thompson is very interesting here. But I'm glad they're both getting opportunities, and we're going to get to see the Thompson and Chabot experience once more.
Thompson was joking because they had that 11-day layoff. We talked about on yesterday's show that he was playing at the ODR in Toronto with Roby Jarventi, and now he's playing in an NHL game the next night. So that's just the way it works in professional hockey. You never know what's going to be next. Lassie Thompson played 12 games for Ottawa earlier this year. And yes, I know plus minus isn't everything. I know it was in the middle of November, their toughest stretch of the year, but he was minus 12 in 12 games. And say what you want about the stat, but players see it. That's one of like the first stats that are shown on a normal box score. So I think that he's going to use the confidence gained back in Belleville and push to be that partner for Thomas Chabot. Open tryouts right now as JBD got his chance, then Erik Brannstrom, and now Lassie Thompson will play alongside Thomas Chabot. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the entire Senators depth chart for tonight. These were the lines at this morning's skate. And to answer the poll question, it looks like DJ Smith is in the minority, at least for now, because Stützle is with Batherson and Formanton, and Norris is with Tkachuk and Sanford, just like they were against Columbus on Sunday. We already talked about Gambrell, Paul Watson. Can you remember when people were calling that the fourth line? That might be DJ Smith's first line, in all seriousness. Yeah. And then Tyler Ennis stays in the lineup after he had a great game in his return after being a healthy scratch for 2. Chris Tierney and Adam Gaudette fill out the fourth line. Behind Chabot and Thompson, it's Holden and Zub and Mete with Josh Brown. The extras, Bishop, Kastelic, Hetherington, and drumroll, Matt Murray starts in goal.
Here we go. Yeah, I'm glad Matt Murray gets this chance. I mean, it was Forsberg who started last time, but that was the 4 p.m. switch up, wasn't it?
Yep, it was.
Yeah, so now Murray, hopefully, let's wait till 4 p.m., I guess, to be fully confident here. But I think this is a great opportunity for Murray. It's a team that the Sens match up very well against. If you're looking at line per line, I would say it's like each line kind of has a good matchup here.
They dominated that game last week.
They really did.
It was a shame they lost it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Buffalo Sabres, there's a couple changes in their lineups as well. Noah Okposo and Casey Middlestat will be entering the lineup for the Sabres. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. Before we get to that, who's your locked on player for the Ottawa Senators? My locked on player is going to be Adam Gaudette. I mean, he's kind of a minor role player here, but with Whitey back here, that's probably going to affect if Adam Gaudette gets playing time at all. So, and if you're Adam Gaudette, this is crucial for you to try to secure a contract, whether it's with the Sens or another team, it doesn't matter. Your opportunities are slipping away here, and this is the best opportunity he's had in his career, according to him. So, and you know what? He's quietly been getting some points. Sure, he's kind of a complete liability defensively, but on a line with Tyler Ennis, like those are two guys that can create offense, and given some time in the offensive zone, they've got speed. Gaudette's got a nice shot. So I want to see if he can really prove to DJ Smith that, hey, I don't need to be in the doghouse here and I can contribute even if it's in a fourth line role, and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to keep my job before Whitey takes it away from me. Yes. And Whitey back at practice, not in the lineup just yet, but let's go with Matt Murray. For me, Matt Murray needs another good game. He had a solid outing, I thought, against Washington in that overtime loss. No glaring errors on the
on the defensive side, but he's getting into that inconsistently consistent where it's bad start, great start, okay start, good start. So I want to see him string together a few good starts here. That's why I was advocating for him to play against Columbus. Clearly, they made the right choice. Forsberg was outstanding, but now that he's back in goal, I'm going to be watching Matt Murray with a very keen eye tonight. And there's some decent guys shooting against him. Alex Tuch has been pretty damn solid since coming over from Vegas in that trade. He's one of those guys, something the Sens like to do where they acquire players who grew up rooting for them. The Syracuse native is on a 4-game point streak. He has 5 in that stretch, and he has 10 points in 9 games since joining the Sabres.
Yeah, he's definitely been a welcomed addition, and I'm assuming that's going to be your lookout player, Ross?
Yes, it is.
All right, well, you took mine. That was the low-hanging fruit, so I'm going to have to go on the fly here. Let's go. You know what? Actually, I'm going to go with Peyton Krebs. This, if we're sticking, if you went with Tuch, I'll go with the other part of the major part of that Jack Eichel deal. And Peyton Krebs, 2 goals in his last game up against the Flyers. And he's someone that I think people that maybe didn't follow his junior career were saying, wow, like that's the top prospect in the Jack Eichel trade. That seems underwhelming. I think you're going to be surprised with how good Peyton Krebs is. And I think the Buffalo Sabres, from what I'm understanding, that was like the must-have piece for that deal to even be a conversation, because they really loved what Peyton Krebs brings to the table, and they think he can be a big part of this team's future. I mean, really, if you're looking at it, Ross, like some of these young guys, Middlestat we're going to get to see in here, but Krebs, Middlestat, Cousins, these are some elite players that are very, very young, and they could go on to have good careers for the Buffalo Sabres. So it's interesting to see how they're going to get started here. So Peyton Krebs is going to be my lookout player.
We don't know the starting goalie just yet, but if I'm Granato and the coaching staff, I go right back to Michael Hauser, who made 42 saves against Ottawa just last week. Their lineup, Tage Thompson with Skinner and Tuch. Then it's Middlestat with Krebs and Anders Bjork. Third line, Dylan Cozens with Asplund and Olofsson. And then Cody Eakin with Gergensons and John Hayden, who you'll remember got in that tilt with Brady Tkachuk last week. Darlene Jokiharju, Bryson with Hag, Samuelson and Pissick. And that's the way the opponent lines up. Quickly on the way out, Pilsy, what is your key to victory for the Senators?
My key to victory is, I talked about it, kind of the lines match up really nicely. Ross, let's, you don't have to flash the graphic, but you can if you like, the 2 second lines. So you got Formenton, Stützle, and Batherson going up against Krebs, Middlestat, and Bjork there. I think if you're that second line for the Sens, you got to feast on that line. Sure, that's a young line for the Sens too, but they have a lot more NHL experience, and Drake Batherson is far and above any of those players. So I really want to see Timmy take advantage of having the leading point getter on the Sens on his line. And Formenton's hot, Stützle's hot. Take advantage of that young, inexperienced line. And I want to see the second line continue to carry this team and dominate up against their opponent there.
Well, the Sens only scored 1 goal last week against Buffalo. It was not only just Batherson, but it was on the power play. So even strength production, not chances, but production, because you'll remember that was the game where, Shabbat and Stützle led the way. 6 shots for Shabbat, 5 for Stützle, and all Senators skaters had at least 1 shot on goal. So they had opportunities. They ran into a good goalie. So maybe this is a cop-out, but burying their chances. Getting some finish. Just continue to play the way they played against Buffalo last time they were in town, and they should come out with 2 points. So I'm going to go with a 4-2 Ottawa victory tonight.
Nice. I like that. I'll hop on with you. 4-2 Ottawa victory. And that's the crazy thing. Like, we're talking about a 6th stringer goalie that really just stole the game for this team. So
on a bad team. On a bad team. Goalie on a bad team.
Yeah, so the Senators can't let that happen again. I guess honorable mention for keys to the game is don't get sensed by the Sabres. The Sens got sensed by the Sabres in that game with a fluky goal. The Sabres were laughing it up. They were able just to squeeze out a victory. So don't let that happen this time. Dominate, and let's see that second line really perform.
And then we'll see you in the Postcast afterwards. You can join the Postcast live on our YouTube channel about 10 minutes after each and every Ottawa Senators game. Or if you miss any or all of it, you can find it in your podcast feeds and the restream of it on our YouTube channel the very next day. So we'll do that tonight. Then we'll be back with another episode of Locked On Senators tomorrow. And my real curiosity is piqued with how Lassie Thompson's going to play tonight. You mentioned Adam Gaudette, Matt Murray. How's the top line going to look without Drake Batherson? Again, will they be the whole game without Drake Batherson? We'll answer all those questions for you tomorrow. But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.